Hey there, and welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tearing into a topic that honestly affects everyone. It's how people who've built serious wealth, the millionaires, the financially free, how they actually think about money. And spoiler alert, it's probably not the way most of us were taught. Now, our source material for this deep dive, it isn't some dry textbook. It's actually a transcript from a really compelling interview. It features an entrepreneur, investor, author. This guy didn't inherit his wealth. He built it from scratch. So this gives us a pretty direct window into the mental shifts he had to make along the way.
And that's really our mission today, isn't it? To kind of pull apart that transcript, find the absolute core ideas. What specific changes in perspective did he credit with, transforming his financial reality? We want to uncover the fundamental why behind the way wealthy people approach money.
Exactly, because it's not just about, oh, I want to earn more dollars. It seems to be about a completely different way of seeing money itself and time
Mm.
and risk and what true value really is. Okay, let's unpack this thing. So right off the bat, the biggest thing he points out is this fundamental difference in how wealthy people view money compared to, well, pretty much everyone else.
Yeah, that stands out immediately. It's this distinction he makes. For people who've built wealth, money isn't the final destination. It's not the prize. It's a tool. He even calls it a lever, something they use to gain freedom, to get more time back, to open up options and, ultimately maybe make a bigger impact. Their whole focus is on making money work for them.
Right. And that's such a stark contrast to what he calls the more average mindset,
Yeah.
where money is the end goal. You know that little voice in your head saying, if I just earn X amount, then I'll finally be happy, or if I can just save up Y amount, then I'll feel secure. Money is the thing you're chasing.
Exactly. And if you see money as the prize itself, you're kind of stuck on a treadmill, aren't you? He makes a really strong case that the wealthy are playing a totally different game. It's centered on creating value for others, using leverage effectively, and understanding how compounding works over time. It really makes you think about your own perspective right now. Is money the tool you're using, or is it the goal you're running after?
And building on that idea, what money is actually for, the source brings up something that might surprise a lot of people listening. For truly wealthy folks, it's often not about buying more and more stuff.
Hmm. This is where he drops a really powerful statement. Time. Time is the real currency. Think about it. You can always figure out ways to make more money, right? But you can never, ever make more time. And once you grasp that, he says, it changes your whole financial strategy.
And you see that shift in how they act, according to the transcript. They're actively working to buy back their time. How? Well, things like delegating tasks they don't need to do, automating processes, investing in systems, or hiring people to handle things that would otherwise eat up their hours.
Yeah, and that's a complete pivot from the standard approach, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is just trading your time directly for money.
Yeah.
An hourly wage, maybe overtime, even a high salary where you're just expected to put in the hours. The source really highlights how the wealthy focus on investing in assets, businesses, real estate, stocks, whatever, and building teams or systems around those assets, things that generate income more passively, which frees up their most precious, absolutely finite resource, their time. Makes you ask yourself, how much do you really value your time, and how are you spending it?
Okay, let's tackle the big one, risk. That word alone.
Hmm.
The idea of investing, maybe starting a business, putting money into something that isn't a sure thing. It feels terrifying to a lot of us. How does this entrepreneur, in his story, handle risk?
Right, and the key insight he shares is crucial. Wealth builders take calculated risks. They aren't just throwing darts blindfolded. They don't avoid risk altogether. That's impossible. They learn to manage it intelligently.
And he makes this really provocative point, doesn't he? That playing it completely safe, keeping everything in cash, never investing that, might actually be the biggest risk you can take,
Mm-hmm.
especially long term. When you think about inflation just eating away at your savings,
Mm-hmm.
or job insecurity, or just the simple fact that time is passing and your money isn't growing, standing still can be way more dangerous than making a smart move forward.
So how do they manage these calculated risks then? Well, he talks about a few things.
Yeah.
Constantly educating yourself is huge.
Hmm.
Really understanding what you're getting into. Building multiple streams of income is another one. So if one area takes a hit, it's not, catastrophic. And importantly, he talks about taking asymmetric bets.
Asymmetric bets.
Yeah, situations where the potential upside, what you stand to gain, is way, way larger than the potential downside, what you could realistically lose. He gives examples like investing early in startups you really understand and believe in, or carefully chosen real estate deals,
Hmm.
or even just investing your time and maybe some money to learn a really high-value skill. It definitely encourages you to look at your own relationship with risk. Are you just avoiding all risk? Or are you learning how to manage the right kinds of risk?
Okay, let's bust another common myth wide open. This idea that just earning a really high income automatically means you're rich. What does the transcript say about that assumption?
Oh, he's very clear on this.
Right.
Very clear. Having a high income is not the same thing as being wealthy. Not at all. He uses that classic example. Someone making, say, $500,000 a year. Sounds amazing, right?
Yeah.
But if their lifestyle costs $510,000 a year,
Yeah.
well, they're broke. Maybe even going backwards.
Right. So he defines true wealth differently. It's not about how much flows in each month. It's about owning assets that produce income.
This is absolutely critical. It's maybe the most critical distinction. He highlights the difference in spending patterns. The wealthy tend to use their income primarily to buy more assets, things that will put money into their pocket over time. Think dividend-paying stocks, rental properties, pieces of businesses.
Things that work for them.
Exactly. Whereas, he notes, the middle class often uses income to buy liabilities, things that might look nice or feel like assets, but actually take money out of their pocket every month.
Like the fancy car payment or maybe too much house.
Precisely. Expensive cars that just depreciate, a primary home mortgage that's mostly just an expense, not an investment generating cash flow. It's this fundamental shift you see, from buying things that consume value to buying things that create or produce value. That's the game changer.
Okay, let's get down to the nitty-gritty then. What are some practical, like, day-to-day habits? Or specific thought patterns he mentions, things that are key to actually building and maintaining this mindset?
Sure. He lists several core ones that really jumped out from the transcript. First, asking better questions. This is a big one. So instead of the default limiting question, can I afford this, which focuses on your current resources, the wealth building question is more like, okay, how can I afford this without trading my own time for it? See how that forces you to think differently about creating new income streams
Right.
or leveraging assets you already have.
Yeah, that's a powerful reframe. What else?
They think long-term, like really long-term, years, decades ahead, not just focused on the next paycheck or the next quarterly report. Also, a relentless focus on constant learning, reading, listening, especially in areas like finance, investing, understanding psychology, market trends. They're always learning. They track their money, like meticulously. They know exactly where it's coming from, where it's going, and what it's doing for them or not doing. And crucially, he mentions they deliberately surround themselves with, well, winners, as he puts it, seeking out mentors, joining masterminds or peer groups, building strong networks, basically connecting with people who are also focused on growth, on value creation, on playing that bigger game.
And then he includes this really powerful kicker, right? This isn't a mindset you somehow magically develop after you get rich. He insists you have to start thinking like a wealthy person before the money shows up. The mindset shift has to come first. It's the precursor, which honestly makes it incredibly actionable for anyone listening. It doesn't matter what your bank balance looks like today. So if you're listening to this and thinking, okay, this makes sense, I want to start adopting this way of thinking, where does he suggest someone actually begins? What's step one?
He gives two main starting points in the transcript, practical places to begin. The first one is change your environment. And that means being really intentional about the information you consume, reading the right books, finance mindset, biographies, listening to deep dives like this one, and also being intentional about who you spend your time with. Consciously seek out people who embody the mindset and the success you're aiming for. Cut out the negativity.
Makes sense. Input shapes output.
The second starting point he offers is focus on building a skill that creates real value in the marketplace. He really emphasizes this point. Wealth isn't primarily built by getting paid for your time. It's built by getting paid for the value you deliver. So, develop skills where you can create disproportionate value. He mentions things like effective marketing, coding, high-level sales, becoming a skilled investor. Skills that aren't just tied to hours worked, but to results achieved.
And really importantly, he stresses patience, doesn't he? This isn't some get-rich-quick scheme. It's not about lottery tickets. Building real wealth is a process. It's built through consistent, small, smart decisions, compounded over time. Little hinges, swing big doors kind of thing.
Exactly. And he concludes with this really empowering thought, this mindset. It's accessible to anyone. Truly. It's not fundamentally about luck or where you were born or who your parents were. It's fundamentally about choosing how you think and then what actions you consistently take based on that thinking.
Wow. Okay, so pulling it all together. This deep dive into the source material really highlights a complete paradigm shift, doesn't it? Moving from seeing money as the ultimate prize to seeing it as a powerful tool, recognizing that your time is actually your most valuable, non-renewable asset. Understanding how to manage calculated risk to capture much bigger upsides, building real lasting wealth by focusing on acquiring income producing assets, not just liabilities, and consciously adopting those daily habits, the learning, the value creation, the long term vision.
Yeah, it's a fundamental reorientation. And if, like the source strongly suggests, building wealth truly begins with that shift in mindset, maybe the question to leave you with is this: what is just one small change, just one that you could explore making today, right
Mm.
now, and how you think about money or time or risk? How might that one subtle mental adjustment, if you really explored it consistently, start to change the entire game for you over time?
Definitely something to chew on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.